Greetings and welcome to What's Wrong with Wolfie. My name is Jason.
And I'm Rich.
And I'm Chris.
And this time it's the video games of 1995. And at the top of the show, as always, I'd like to give a massive shout out to our supporters, Andrew and Tristan. Thank you so much, guys. You are amazing people. And if you would like to do the same, you too can join the Wolfie Club, where you can join a monthly membership or just give a one-off donation to the show. Head on over to buymeacoffee.com/the Wolfie Pod to see all the options. Now, as I said in the intro, we have finally hit the video games of 1995. And there are a lot of decent games released this year, including Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, Chrono Trigger and Command & Conquer. But we are going to concentrate on the two big consoles that launched in this year, the Sega Saturn and the defining PlayStation. But before we do any of that, I have that question to ask, the one on the tip of everyone's tongue, the one that's put everyone on the edge of their seat. It is, of course, what's in your glass, Rich?
Ooh, I've got a nice velvety dark number this week. Taste, hints of tiramisu.
Ooh.
And a hint of Mini Cooper. It is the Italian Job by Wild Child Brewing. It's a tiramisu milkshake stout, and it is glorious. It's lovely. Yeah, lovely. Very.
Where was that from?
It's Wild Child, wild with an E on the end. Child spelt the way you'd spell child.
Oh no, not one of those companies.
What do you mean one of those companies? Good craft brewer from Leeds. Yeah, great. Says on the back here, with more velvety dark malts, lactose and tiramisu flavouring crammed into it than a scrapyard of Mini Coopers, this super decadent milkshake stout will be sure to blow your bloody doors off and make sure you come back for another helping. So it's lovely stuff. Yes, very drinkable, very light. Good stuff. 6%. Yeah.
Nice. I think sometimes.
Did you want it direct from them, did you? Or was it from another?
It was a Christmas present, so it would have probably come from them. I think it did, actually. Yeah, I remember seeing the box. It did have Wild Child on the side. So got a pint glass as well. So
just finding it now.
Cool. They got a lot of good ones on there. They got a lot of good ones. So.
Well, I always find with coffee stout sometimes that it can be a little bit too coffee-y.
Oh, this is just right. I'm exactly the same way. I don't like strong coffee notes. This is just right.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well,
subtle.
We need a rating, Rich, before we move on.
Ooh, I don't know. I'm going to give it a 9.1.
9.1, ladies and gents. That's a high recommendation once more from Rich.
I think I've actually gone below a 9 yet.
No, I don't think you have.
Pure
actually.
hyperbole come from me. Seriously, just overrating everything. So.
The Obsidian Phantom peanut butter milk stout. Oh my god.
There you go.
Yeah, dude.
Sorry, Wild Child, not a sponsor.
I think
they will be.
I think we've lost Chris for the show, Rich. He's just going to be too busy browsing craft beers.
It's a noble cause, Someone's got to do it.
Well, as I said, the Sega Saturn and the PlayStation launches in 1995, and it'd be rude to ignore these massive launches. But obviously, like I also said, there are some good games that were released in this year, but just want to have a quick cheeky look at the top 10 of 1995. And for this time around, I've chosen the week of the 11th, 1995. I don't know why.
Lest we forget.
Indeed. Maybe this is why I chose that week. I don't know why.
That's all I got.
So, quick run through. At number 10 was FIFA Soccer 95 for the Mega Drive. Shocker. Number 9 was Donkey Kong Land for the Game Boy. Anyone have any experience playing that?
No,
especially not the Game Boy, but even Donkey Kong in general, never really given it much of a shake.
Fair enough.
So.
I can just quite remember how marvelled I was that they managed to do this game on the Game Boy. They matched the Super Nintendo version quite well, and
really,
Yeah, it was a really good game, and it came on a yellow cartridge as well, I believe. It's just
Oh, I'm an idiot. I actually got that on my shelf behind me. Holy fuck,
you?
yeah, I've got it. Yeah. I think it's one of Rach brought over. When Rachel came over from the States, she brought some Game Boy games with her. Yeah, I've got that game.
Oh, okay.
I touch it every other week when I'm dusting. So, yeah, I'm looking at it right now, yellow in a case.
Yes, that's the one.
Yep. Sorry, listeners, I'm an idiot.
I've got a fair few
already.
Game Boy games, but nothing like that.
No. Number 8 was Doom on the 32X, the Jaguar, and the Super Nintendo.
Never heard of it.
Nah, I think it was like a share. Oh, it was a shareware game, so I don't know what I'm talking about. Number 7 was Theme Park for the Mega Drive, the Super Nintendo, and the Jaguar. We've already talked about that on a previous episode. Number 6 was Mickey Mania for the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo. Was this like the sequel to Castle of Illusion, do you think?
Why did I think Castle of Illusion... Castle of Illusion was before this, wasn't it? Yeah, I thought it was after, but it's not. I guess? Yeah. Can't say for sure.
No, I have no knowledge or memories of this game. But
no.
Number 5 was International Superstar Soccer Deluxe on the Super Nintendo. One of my... I think the N64 one was my favourite one.
Still the gold standard for football games, in my opinion. Yeah, that was my entry point in the N64 one. Just fantastic game.
You guys can just keep all your football games. It's fine.
Commentary is the best in that game, where they just like clip bits together. It's England 2, France 1. It's just like it's so good. It's fantastic. It's like a pure like cut and shut of commentary. It's fantastic game. Brazil, I've won the game. It's just like it's so fantastic. Oh shit!
I need to replay that. I've forgotten it did that. Number 4 was Micromachines 96 on the Mega Drive.
Love Micromachines.
Don game.
Love it.
Spent many of an hour playing with my friend Micromachines, and I tried to play it recently, but it's a bit of a fucker to control these days.
I bet.
I don't know if it's my age or whether it's the age of the game. No idea.
Both, probably.
Actually, I did play it recently. What was the Micro Machines? Something tournament, wasn't it? I actually was playing it on the Series X because I got the emulator for the Mega Drive on it. Don't ask. Yeah, I think it was the same. Actually, I couldn't control it for shit. I think I've got worse with games over the years.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was just better then or what. I don't know. But yeah, it was pretty bad.
And like, I always remembered that it was a fast game, but like, I was like, I can't remember it being this fast. I mean, it was. Yeah. I mean, the game's really fast, and the screen couldn't quite keep up with it sometimes. And it just put me off a little bit. But yeah, obviously, when I knew nothing any better. Spent hours playing the Micro Machines, and as always alluded to in a previous episode, with that cartridge with the extra 2 controller ports,
genius,
was just quality,
genius.
Number 3 was Killer Instinct on the Super Nintendo.
Good game.
Number 2 was Mortal Kombat 3 on the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo. Any history on that game, that particular one?
Not that one, I don't think, no. I think probably I played Mortal Kombat 2 more. I'll be honest, I've never really played a massive deal of the classic 2D Mortal Kombat, so it definitely came on later when it kind of came into the third dimension. I just never... I don't think 2D fighters in general have always gelled that much with me, whether it's SNK games, Capcoms, or Midways. Just don't know.
Yeah, I've never really been a big, massive beat-em-up fan. Played Street Fighter 2 with my mates, but I was the one that was always the shit one. So
join the club.
Yep. So they were always the better ones. They could always pull off the moves. And I would just still be there button bashing, hoping that I could fluke a Hadouken or something. And kind of just avoided beat-em-ups in general. Even now, I don't really play them that much. They're not my strong genre of gaming. So I don't really touch them. My kids are showing a bit of interest in playing beat-em-ups. So I'm playing them with them because that's what they would like to do. So, and having a bit of fun with that. But in general, I don't really touch them. And in that sense, I've never really played a Mortal Kombat game in general, really. So
No. The only exposure I had was, I think I had Street Fighter 1 and 2 on the Mega Drive.
Yeah.
But all the rest, like stuff like that, was always played at a friend's house. I don't even think on my brother's PlayStation, I don't even think he had a Mortal Kombat game. Unless it pops into my memory tonight. But
I will say that probably in the last year or two, I've actually played probably the most 2D fighters I have in my entire life, because I got the GDMU on my Dreamcast, and I actually dabbled with quite a few games like King of Fighters series, and 2 games in particular, Guilty Gear X and Vampire Chronicles. Vampire Chronicles, fantastic. The most fun I've ever had with a 2D fighter by far. Instantly more enjoyable than like a Street Fighter, which I've just never gotten with. There's something about that game just is fantastic, and I didn't see it coming. I don't know what it is, what it just appeals to me, what the hook was. I'm still playing it against the CPU as well, so I've not got the social aspect of it, but I just find it really cool art style, and amazing like sound design as well. Maybe that's just what it is. It just pulled me in on the aesthetics. But yeah.
I mean, it's a shame I don't. I mean, like, you know, it's like with anything really. You know, some things are for some people and some things aren't, and beat 'em ups are just not for me. But I do feel disappointed in some ways, because, like you've just mentioned there with that game, on the work and the beauty that's included in them, that, you know, I'd like to appreciate them, but I won't.
Boo.
Well, the top game of 1995 on the weekend of the 11th of November 1995 is on the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo. What is it, Rich?
It's going to be a FIFA, surely. FIFA 96, I bet.
It is indeed FIFA 96.
Even then, it was just like, ugh. It's like the X Factor Christmas #1, you know, it's just inevitable. It's just,
yeah, pretty much. So there's not much to say. I can look on the week ending of the 30th of the 12th, 1995. Do you think it's #1 there?
Yes.
You'll be right. It is #1. It's just a behemoth of a game that still, to this day, I mean, it's you kind of got to marvel at EA in some ways on how they've kept this franchise alive for so long.
Did you just utter those 3 words, Jason?
I did.
Marvel at EA.
I mean,
God, it's as bad as Activision, Jason.
Are they really? But let's not go there. Let's not go down that road. But I mean,
Ghislaine Maxwell of developers. I
mean,
he went there. He went there.
He went there.
Ghislaine, I can't pronounce her name. Ghislaine.
Yeah, I mean, I know Electronic Arts have had their issues and they've got their problems, but I mean, even back in the 90s and into the early 2000s, and for this franchise to be so strong even today is just, I don't know. Well, is it a good thing or not?
Well, I mean, apparently they're on shaky ground now. Apparently FIFA's like close to pulling the license from them because they want like an extra billion or something for the rights. To give the rights to EA. So I don't know if FIFA are meant to possibly be pulling the license. Because apparently I think EA have trademarked EA FC now. So I think they're actually already covering their asses in case they end up with, you know, kind of scraps. They might be in a kind of a Konami kind of situation where they've got, you know, teams and player likenesses, but they're not going to have all the leagues and shit. So, don't know. I wonder who it'll go to if they lose it. Probably 2K probably or something. I don't know.
Let's hope it's not Konami.
Oh, no, they don't. You can't get FIFA on a pachinko machine, you know, with NFTs. So.
Oh god, yeah.
Awful.
The question is, what do you think EA would call their own football game though? I mean, obviously they can't call it FIFA, so.
Yeah, I think EA FC. They did that when they didn't have the UFC license. They did EA MMA, so why not?
Fair enough.
This is the exact same thing that happens on a brainstorming at Lidl and Aldi, isn't it? What do we call our off-brand products? Professor Peppy. That's a.
I tell you what,
Peppy, what's that one?
It's Dr. Pepper from Lidl.
Oh god,
Was it
I remember
Lidl's
the
or was it Aldi?
I think Aldi's the one that's really, really ingenious. I remember seeing What's It's once. They had What's That. It was like fucking chef's kiss.
And we had dinner one night. Must be about a year or two ago. Our in-laws, and we were talking. It came up a conversation again, and it's just like, if you were the head of a board of rip-off products, what would you call your versions?
What was the best one you came up with?
Lou Goose.
Lou Goose?
Yeah.
Legos?
Instead of toilet duck, Lou Goose. It works. It works.
I've seen that one for Kellogg's Squares, oblongs. You got a snack right. Salt your own, instead of salt and shake. Yeah. Salt your own, you bastard.
Electronic Arts, if you're listening, this is how you brainstorm.
There you go. I look forward to it.
Oh, this is great, man. Minstrels. Mysticals. Shredded wheat, classic. Wheat shreds.
Yeah. It's like we're in the same conversation again.
This is genius. I'm scrolling this now.
It was just like, what would your version of a bounty be?
Oh.
I don't know. I think.
Well, I call mine a mutiny. So you heard it here first here, kids. Copyright mutiny bar. Bounty.
Penguin
mutiny.
Bars. Seal
it makes
bars.
Sense. And the puffin bars.
You got seal bars, yeah? Not the singer.
Seal?
But you've got a picture of Seal, the singer.
Seal bars.
Wow.
Is that just a picture of him at bars?
Yeah. Cartwheels. It's a wagon wheels. This is great. So I'm done now. I've got to get off this website. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, listeners. We've lost Chris to craft beer shopping, and we've lost Rich to
Teddy Faces.
Teddy Faces. Yeah, I shouldn't have brought that up.
Headstrong is a Head and Shoulders. Fantastic.
Yeah. Comparing electronics arts brainstorming to what happens at Lidl and Aldi.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Yes, we tangent. But yeah, so let's get into the first console we want to talk about, and that is the Sega Saturn.
You are approaching Saturn. You are only seconds away. I have arranged for you to meet my companion. He will lead you. Watch. And listen. Please, don't disappoint him. He doesn't like that.
We are 5 years away from entering the 21st century. Humankind stands on the edge of the interactive age. You have come a long way. But are you ready for the future?
Introducing Sega Saturn. Aww. Hit it. Sega's next-generation gaming platform. Revolutionary sports and arcade gameplay. All with amazing new 3D experiences never before possible on home game systems. Wow.
Sega Saturn. It's how you play the game.
Released on the November the 22nd, 1994 in Japan, May the 11th in 95 in North America, and July the 8th in 1995 in Europe. In North America it retailed for $399. But in October of the same year, they reduced it to $299 because that's how much they were feeling the heat of the PlayStation already. The Saturn was released into an already packed market. For example, Sega released the 32X on November the 21st in 1994 in North America. December the 3rd, 94 in Japan and January of 95 in Europe. And obviously they were still trying to promote that, and they had other things going on as well with the Mega CD and such else. And, it's stuff that we've said before, it was just Sega were trying to do too much. And then they decided to release the Sega Saturn. And obviously this was the period of time that things started to go a tad wrong for Sega, I think. Customers in America were confused, I think, from the sudden announcement that Tom Kalinske made at E3 in regards to the imminent release of the Sega Saturn, and it pissed off distributors as well in America, because they were like, oh shit, got to try and get these consoles. And then even the shops were pissed off. Some shops were pissed off because they didn't even know it was happening. I think like Walmart and
Toys R Us were quite pissy about it. I think they refused to stock it. I think Toys R Us did.
Yeah, because Toys R Us were one of the shops that got some stocking of this, immediate release, but Best Buy and Walmart didn't.
Okay, yeah, facts wrong.
Well, that's what Wikipedia said anyway.
Oh, there you go. And you can always trust Wikipedia.
Yeah.
That was such a ballsy move by Sega, and really quite foolish. I get it, like, it's that cool kind of shock and awe kind of announcement. Like, whoa, yeah, it's like Shadow Drop. It's one thing to Shadow Drop a game at an end of a Nintendo Direct, but you don't do it with an actual consumer electronics where you've got logistics, distributors, stores with their inventories. The fact you're asking, like, what, $400 for this thing, and you're just springing at people. How do you expect that to go well? People aren't just going to be like, oh, okay, this thing's out, sweet. Yeah. They like to kind of take the time with it, do some research, get hyped for the games that are coming out on launch day. But this thing was just there. And like you said, like, massively saturated market, and 90% of the saturation was come from Sega. Yeah. It's like, never mind the other companies. It was, I don't know what they were thinking. Don't know.
I mean, and even where I was doing some research for the show, and Tom Kalinske had said that he wanted to release the Saturn on Saturn Day in September, but Sega of Japan I think they were panicky about the PlayStation, and they wanted to get it out before the PlayStation, or quicker than September, to try and combat what they kind of knew was going to be a big thing. But in life, as we've learned, sometimes just getting it, sometimes patience is a virtue, and just rushing something out quickly can just come and slap you right back in the face. And that's pretty much what happened with Sega and the Saturn.
Yeah. Indeed. I think that combined with the actual confusion anyway, people didn't know what they were buying. It's kind of how I look at the Wii U. People didn't know if this was another thing that you're going to stick underneath or on top of your Mega Drive. Yeah, it just didn't have enough of its own identity, because I mean, how I remember when I was a kid owning a Mega Drive and seeing Master System games on the same shelf, and always remembering it, or I remember it being the other. It was like it existed side by side. It's like having, okay, I guess in a way you could say it is kind of like it nowadays, with like how the PS4 is still supported alongside the PS5, as is the Xbox One over the Series X and S. But it just, I don't know, it just felt more kind of confusing back then. I don't think people were as savvy, because it was more of a niche thing. It was parents buying it for their kids, not so much 30-somethings that had an income that knew all about it.
Yeah.
I think that just leads to disaster. I don't know.
And as I alluded to with the 32X only being released at the end of the previous year and January of 95 in Europe, it was still such a quick time period, because, and what does Sega want to do? Do they want to promote and push the 32X to try and get more people to use their Mega Drives and get that extra oomph out of it? but then they're bringing out the Saturn in pretty much the same, in a year, not even a year's time.
Yeah.
And then they obviously want developers to develop games for these systems. But even then the developers were like, what shall I do? You know, do you want me to develop a game for the 32X or do you want me to develop a game for the Saturn? You know, we can only give so many resources to one or the other. We can't, you know, develop games for both at the same time because different architectures, different systems, and it was just even a confusing, hellish time for the developers for these systems. And this is why the 32X crashed and burned as much as it did, really, because not many games were really that developed for that system in the end, was there? And
no, same with that, and like the Mega CD as well. They were just like, I don't know, like HD DVDs at the time. You know what I mean? Like, it came and went. Didn't actually have much in terms of the library. Just were there and didn't make any kind of impact.
But you know, this is what happened, and talking about the developers, actually, you know, like developing games for the Saturn was apparently quite a difficult task as well, with how the Saturn was created and how it was, you know, made and stuff. But look into the positives of the Sega Saturn. Personally, for me, I thought it was quite a good machine. I really enjoyed my time owning a Sega Saturn, and when it came to upgrading from, you know, the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive, I couldn't afford the 32X. I didn't do the Mega CD or anything like that. I just skipped that whole stage completely. So going up to a 32-bit machine for myself was quite a big leap from the 16 bits.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But the PlayStation thing, it didn't really work for me, or I kind of ignored it. I can't tell you why. Maybe I was just a bit like, well, what's this like new boy coming in with its like big fancy budgets and you know, all this kind of stuff, and it's Sony, and stuck in my ways with Sega and Nintendo. I'm just going to go Sega and buy the Saturn. So for the PlayStation, I didn't own a PlayStation for quite a few years afterwards, and it was all about the Saturn. And, you know, this was the machine that I played Tomb Raider on, and all the kind of like Exhumed. I don't know if God,
Exhumed was good. I played it on the PlayStation.
Did you?
That was quality, yeah.
Loved Exhumed on the Sega Saturn. And when I rebought one a few years ago, Exhumed was top of my list of games to repurchase. Quality game.
Nice.
And I kind of just, I liked the interface of the Sega Saturn, and I liked how I could play my audio CDs on them, and it was just I just loved that little machine. And did you ever own one, Rich or Chris?
I never did. I feel really awful. I feel like the Saturn is the one machine that really passed me by big time. Like, I played a little bit in the shops around release time. I recently played it again on my Series X with the emulator, don't ask. But I've never really had quality time with actual hardware, with an actual controller in my hands, and it is one of my kind of big gaming regrets. And I mean, things that stuck out to me, I remember loving Alien Trilogy on it. That was one, I think it was the first Saturn game I played in a branch of Comet. Old school. Yep. And Virtua Fighter, definitely. Burning Rangers was a standout. But I really haven't got my feet wet much with the Saturn, and I feel like it's something I should probably fix. I mean, I might look online to see what they're going for at the moment, get myself a Fenrir as well, so I can do the same thing with that as I did with my Dreamcast. And just have all the games on it. Yeah.
And it definitely pays to go more towards the Japanese version.
Really?
Of the Saturn. A, for cosmetics, because
it's white, isn't it?
It's white, yeah. Whereas our one was black. But there was something I learned about the Sega Saturn controllers, actually, whereas the Japanese controllers kind of replicate the shape of a Mega Drive controller. It was quite smooth edges.
Oh yeah,
and such. Whereas the ones that we got over here in Europe were quite jagged. There were more rough edges just to try and make it look a bit meaner. But I don't, and I think the shoulder buttons were a little spongier, whereas the Japan ones were just a little bit better.
Okay.
So a lot of people didn't really get on with the Europe ones as much, or the Japanese ones are definitely more preferred. But obviously, I think if you've got the Japanese console as well, you've probably got access to a bigger catalogue of games. But I think one of the other games that I really enjoyed playing on the Sega Saturn, and I don't know, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you two have never heard of it, and it's a game called Baku Animal. I know it's just called Baku, I think.
Heard of it, but I can't remember much more beyond that.
My God. I mean, it's quite Japanesey, right? But it's pretty much, right, just a normal, connect 3 of the same tile and, it disappears kind of puzzle game. But one of the things about this game was that if you matched, they're all different animals. So if you matched 3 pandas, what would happen is then one of the panda heads would grow really big and then it would eat the other tiles.
Okay.
So then if you can imagine if you'd managed to build up a 15 tiles of a panda, which were all connected together, and, you managed to kick off a combo, this big panda would then just munch all these 15, 20 tiles all at once.
Okay. That sounds cute. I like it already.
Yeah, but then obviously with the different animals, you've got different tigers and monkeys and stuff like that. So then, in puzzle games, sometimes if you can chain them up properly and they drop favourably, you can start different combos with different animals. So if you'd managed to do that right, you could just sit there and sit back, and then the big panda would come and eat all its tiles, and then the tiger would come in and eat all its tiles, and then the monkey would come in and eat all its tiles, and it was just fun. It just made you laugh.
Is it available in any other formats? Imagine something I can find elsewhere.
I don't know, actually. I don't know if you can buy it on other platforms. I don't know if it was a Sega Saturn exclusive. But I'm sure my friend Google can tell me. Let me have a look at Baku platforms. I don't think it does, actually.
Okay. Maybe I'll try and get it on the emulator, so can do that. Although, to be fair, I think Saturn's still a bit of a pain in the ass for emulation. I don't know what it is about it, but...
Well, maybe we should ask the developers, and I'm sure they'll tell you why. But,
yeah.
But one of the other things I quite liked about the Sega Saturn was when my CMOS battery died on it, and it was really easy to change, which compared to a Dreamcast was quite...
Don't go there. So.
And it kind of amazed me on how or why Sega went for that decision on how easy they made it to change a CMOS battery on a Sega Saturn to how difficult they made it on a Dreamcast. It always surprises me.
Was it literally just removable from like a housing? It wasn't like welded on or soldered on? Sorry, like
there was a little cover on the back which you just unclipped, and it was just there, and then you can just unclip it, throw it away, and put a new one in. Put the cover back on. Job done.
Ridiculous.
Crazy, right?
Mad. That's one of the good things they did design-wise internally. 'Cause otherwise, it was like a cut and shut, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
Because I noticed a lot of it. I mean, I hear different things about Saturn, but I always heard that at heart it was very much like a 2D machine, but then they kind of had to retrofit it, like to make it basically kind of stand more shoulder to shoulder with the Mega Drive, Jesus Christ, the PlayStation, and handle more in the way of 3D. I don't know how much truth there is to that, because when you see something like Knights and you see the 3D controller, like it is definitely more than competent doing 3D. So it doesn't scream of a last minute decision to me. It looks like they still very much had 3D, on their map, on their roadmap for the Saturn. I don't know. I hear different things. I never know what to believe. So.
It's hard to know sometimes. But you mentioning Knights there, that kind of reminded me when I bought Knights for the system, and I got that circle pad. I can't remember what they called it. The 3D circle pad.
I think it was like 3D controller or something, wasn't it? It was nothing, inspired.
But, and I think because it had an internal clock, and I think this was probably one of the first consoles, wasn't it, that had this internal clock system. And I bought the official Sega magazine, Sega Saturn magazine, which had the, I believe I got it off the magazine, the Christmas Nights thing. And I don't know, that always just sticks in my mind because of, I'd never really experienced anything like that in a video game. Or just to have a system that could do that with the time difference and such.
Yeah, I used to love that. So one of my things, I'm jumping ahead of generation now, but like one of the things I loved with the Dreamcast, that was the first time I experienced that with like Sonic Adventure. Where like it was Christmas Day and you went to the city square, the town square, and there was like Christmas trees up and decorations, and I was like, or like October 31st, there was pumpkins out. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so clever. It's so
That's
clever.
really cool.
And it's gone the next day because time has passed. I'm like, this is genius.
Yeah.
No DLC required. It was on the disc. It just activated. I was just, so good. So good.
But talking about the CDs, I guess, and magazines, and I mean, I'd had experience of like demo discs on the front of magazines from, well, not even CDs, I guess they were like the floppy disks from Atari ST days.
My granddad.
Back in my day.
Jeez.
But for this new generation, and they've been able to put demos onto CDs and then be able to put those CDs on the front of magazines, was amazing. It was so good. Like to be able to experience brand new games just for not even a $5, was great, especially for us, because we couldn't afford to just go out and buy 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, you always had those odd demos that you really played. Like it was like you got the game. You knew it was limited as hell. You had like 1 or 2 levels. I mean, I'm skipping ahead to the other console we're going to talk about now, but obviously, like, I surrounded myself with a lot of PlayStation demos, and I remember playing the hell out of Destruction Derby 2, and there's some weird ones. I think actually Exhumed was one of them, funnily enough. And there's one more. A weird one, I don't know why, but it was the video game adaptation for the film A Bug's Life. It was good.
I only ever played that on a demo.
Same.
Yeah, that's what we're
The
saying.
Toy Story game. The only time I ever played it was in Electronics Boutique.
Yeah, I played the arse off that demo disc.
Yeah.
We do, and
Don't worry.
you just get really annoyed when you get to the end, because like, I just want to see what happens next, but then you'd reboot it and do it all over again.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a few games I actually went on to just buy immediately off the strength of a demo. I think one of them was Destruction Derby 2. Other than that, I think I was pretty much a tight bastard. Just freeloaded off the demo discs, and I was like, this is good enough for me.
Well, why not?
Yeah, sod it. I got my experience, I had fun, and didn't spend $39.99, so perfect.
Yeah. I'll probably delve into the demo disc a little bit more when we get to the PlayStation, which will be in just a moment, actually, I think. Because I know that's what you two are really waiting for.
Sad, mate.
But according to Sega of America President Tom Kalinske...
American President Tom Kalinske?
Sega of America...
We've seen stranger things happen, guys.
I know.
Face it.
Oh, God, don't even.
I mean, I think he'd make quite a decent a president, don't you?
Who in the video games industry would you love to see as a head of state or
right now,
prime minister, president? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, obviously not Bobby. What's his face from Activision? That would be a terrible idea. He can maybe be the president of like Brazil or something. So that's kind of more his bag.
I don't know. My mind's gone blank. I can't think of anybody recently now. Peter Moynihan?
Oh God! No! I mean, I guess we've all got to say everyone's gaming dad, and that's got to be Phil Spencer. Guy's a ledge.
Yeah. So. Or Reggie.
Or Reggie. Yeah, Reggie be good. Shigeru Miyamoto is like, Minister for Transport. I don't know.
This is like Back to the Future. As soon as Donald Trump was elected, I remember having flashbacks to Back to the Future Part 2. Who's the president in 1985? Ronald Reagan. The actor. Who's vice president? Jerry Lewis. That's all I can think of.
But I think you're right, actually, Rich. I think you've got a good call there. Phil Spencer, I think, is probably the daddy. I mean, he would just make running America a piece of piss, wouldn't he?
I trust him. He's for the people. Well, he's not really. He's just telling us what we want to hear because money. But he wears he does it with a nice face. He seems personable and he cares about the audience / electorate. I don't know. Yeah, the rest of them can get in the bin. I don't trust what's his face from Sony. What's his name? Something Carney.
I don't even know who runs Sony at the moment. PlayStation. Couldn't tell you. But him.
Matt
Not very
Booty.
good.
That's the best guy's name ever. The guy from Sony, Matt Booty.
There you go.
It was the surname Booty. I'm like, you poor bastard. Anyway, sorry, we're going way off.
It's fine.
I'm on a Chris level of tangent here, so really back in. So.
But anyway, apparently, according to Tom Kalinske, Sega of America fought against the architecture of the Saturn for quite some time, seeking an alternative graphics chip for the Saturn. Kalinske attempted to broker a deal with Silicon Graphics, but Sega of Japan rejected the proposal. Silicon Graphics subsequently collaborated with Nintendo on the Nintendo 64. Kalinske, Sony Electronic Publishing's Olaf Olafsson, and Sony America's Mickey Schulhoff.
Okay.
I butchered the names. I'm sorry. Had discussed
very John Merrick pronunciation there.
Thank you.
Oh no! Oh no!
Had discussed development of a joint Sega-Sony hardware system, which never came to fruition due to Sega's desire to create hardware that could accommodate both 2D and 3D visuals, and Sony's competing notion of focusing on 3D technology. Publicly, Kalinske defended the Saturn's design. Our people feel that they need the multi-processing to be able to bring to the home what we're doing next year in the arcades. But yeah, again, like bridging over into Sony and the PlayStation. I mean, Sony wanted to get their toes wet into the video gaming market, and obviously they went to Nintendo first, and they got pretty far with Nintendo to even create a concept machine, which we've seen in the last few years, and it nearly came to be. And I would love to know from the people in Nintendo at that time why they decided to go and announce a thing with Philips instead of Sony when they had got that far with Sony.
There was, I forget what the background was now, where the falling out kicked in, why it was. I know there was something to it. I can't remember what the hell it was. It's
from the top of my head, what I think happened was the fact that Nintendo were doing this, and I think it was at a CES show when Nintendo went out on a presentation and just announced that they'd done a partnership with Philips behind Sony's back, because Sony didn't know anything about this. So this obviously pissed off Sony and was like, well, fuck them then. And they tried to do the same thing with Sega. They tried to collaborate with Sega to create a console that they could get onto the market and get into the video gaming industry. But obviously, with reading that out, Sega of Japan, being Sega of Japan at the time, was just like, nah, no, thank you. We can do this on our own. We're Sega. We'll see you later. And obviously this is what they did with Silicon Graphics as well. And it's just quite, if these decisions had been made a bit differently, how differently it might have been for Sega. But
yeah,
it is what it is. But Sony was like, oh, well, we'll fuck both of them then. And they went off and they created the Sony PlayStation, which was released and absolutely kicked the shit out of Nintendo and Sega.
Hello, citizens of Europe. As spokesperson for SAPS, the Society Against PlayStation, I'd like to talk to you about a menace threatening humanity. It's happening right here, in our very homes, and corrupting the lives of our loved ones. Yes, friends, I'm talking about this. It may look like a harmless bagel toaster, but inside is a deadly donut. How do you know PlayStation is not a normal game system? It carries these telltale signs. Scientists say its effects are mind-boggling. Users lose all sense of reality and enter another world. Here we have a normal, healthy young man. And here we have a fellow who's been experimenting with PlayStation for only a few minutes. Proof that we saps must be on our guard. Remember, do not underestimate the power of PlayStation.
I don't think it's one of those things. I have very strong feelings about when the PlayStation came out. I don't feel like it's one of those things we're ever going to have ever again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was because of the time we were in and where gaming was at. I don't know if it was because of the age we were when it happened, but it was that massive shift, massive paradigm shift, and it wasn't just about how big the PlayStation was. It was more than anything the fact that you had this outsider coming in the console. It didn't feel so much like a games machine. And you talked about earlier little things like with the Saturn controller having that kind of aggressive angular design in the West. Consoles, for the longest time, they just screamed, games machine, toy, aggressive, very... It appealed to a certain niche audience, whereas the PlayStation coming from a proper consumer electronics company, it felt more just refined and sleek. It felt like a living room product instead of something that goes upstairs in some acne covered boy's bedroom. It
was a bit more grown up.
Yeah, and from the design, the marketing, the marketing. Well, the TV ads we had over here, it's such a boring term, but it just had that air of cool about it.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like anything
they
we
went
had.
for the surreal kind of ads, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
PlayStation.
definitely. Definitely.
Was it the third place ads? Was that for PlayStation or PlayStation 2?
That was PlayStation 2. That was the David Lynch directed ones.
Yeah, sorry. Getting confused there. Sorry, guys.
That's all right. Still, I was I always remember... The one ad they did for PlayStation was the Second Life one. And it was like the talking heads all black and white, although I've commanded armies and something. And you had different people from different walks of life. You had the guy that clearly was living in a drug den. You had the kid in the anorak. You had the guy in the wheelchair. And at least I know I've lived. And I was like, and it just ends with that little bit of classical music at the end. I was like, damn, this is not like the old Nintendo ads used to get, where you used to just be gameplay footage, some really cringy humour that was really infantile. This was growing the fuck up. It just felt cool. And when you're what age we would have been, 13, 14, that's exactly what you want to see. And it backed it up. It wasn't just image, it was the games. It's just ridiculous how many games, and the quality can be up and down, but it's just, I don't know. I still remember getting it that Christmas it came, well, not the Christmas it came out. I got it the Christmas of 96, I think. Mm-hmm. And just the opening, the actual, when you boot up without a disc and it goes to that PlayStation logo and that little fanfare at the start, and you just got chills. I still hear it today. Nothing's ever replicated that feeling of booting up a PlayStation with that disc. Just was really epic, and it just, oh man, to me, that's still the best time in gaming. I mean, I love the Dreamcast, but the PlayStation, you felt like you were living in a really, really important time.
You're right. I mean, it was a defining moment in video games.
Yeah.
And it changed the market completely. Just turned it on its head.
Yeah.
And Sega and Nintendo didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But I think, like, you're right with the way that Sony marketed the PlayStation, but they made it affordable as well, which I think was a massive key. And with Sony's, like, money that they've got, they could afford to do this. And that obviously had a big impact on how many were being sold.
Yeah.
Because I think they retailed at $299, didn't it?
I think so, yes. When you looked at how much the Saturn was, it was ridiculous. Like $449, I think, in the UK.
Yeah. I mean, when I bought my Saturn, I bought it on a catalogue.
Oh, God.
No, right.
Was it Grattan's or Littlewood? What was the interest? It was like £600 over
probably
24 months. Like,
I think it was a Littlewoods. I bought my my Sega Saturn through. But obviously I alluded that my choice was the Sega Saturn. So I had friends and experiences of playing the PlayStation for numerous years, but not that much. I'd never really had that much exposure towards the PlayStation. You know, I'd heard of the games of Spyro, and Metal Gear Solid, and Ridge Racer, and all the other massive big hits that the console had. And I remember playing a few of them, but ultimately I'd made my choice. I had my Saturn at home, and that was my machine. But it wasn't until the PlayStation 1, the little white box version.
Oh, the PS1, or what it was called. Yeah. One,
came out. That's when I owned a PlayStation.
Yeah.
See, my brother had the original. I can't remember where he got it. I can't remember what happened, but obviously, we were one of those kids who we had to save money and wait a couple of years, So I just remember my brother getting his PlayStation. I had the N64. So we had the, best of both worlds, really. We both shared it and that kind of stuff. So that's the only exposure I really had to a PlayStation. Obviously, your mate's house, they invite you around to play a game, and then you end up sitting around their house watching them play the game.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck you, man.
And there's the other thing as well. I found, like, Chris, you said about mates playing it, but like I felt there was that shift as well where, yes, when you were in school, you had some friends that were like games, but there was still that kind of like, oh, games, that's sad,
Yeah.
But I found there were more and more friends within like circle or surrounding circles that were all now playing games.
Yeah, because they found the PlayStation.
Yeah, it was like, okay,
like you said
cool
earlier. Yeah. Like you said earlier, everyone up until that point was just like, oh, slow, clunky plastic toy that goes in your little brother's bedroom, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then here comes this smart little bit of kit that's made by the same guys who make TVs and VHS, and you're like, Jesus Christ, it blew everyone away. And like you said, it became commonplace with part of the home entertainment systems, and it is now.
Yeah, but we've touched on the games, but I mean the games were so much grown up, and they were, and we kind of seen that in the previous generation with Mortal Kombat having that a bit of gore with the fatalities and the blood, but obviously that was still a 2D style game, and we jumped up to 32-bit, and even the Saturn's games that were offered were good, but they didn't touch upon the kind of games that PlayStation were offering. And
I mean, you got 3 letters GTA, and that's like
that
was a religious experience for me. Like,
that's exactly what I was going to say. PlayStation was my introduction to Grand Theft Auto.
It's still a bedroom. I'm just playing this game. I'm like, how is this happening? I'm not of age to be playing this game, and I'm like running over pedestrians, killing spree.
That's what I mean. Like, my brother, he said to me, "I've got this game you might be interested in," and at the time I was like, "This was like early internet days. You didn't hear about everything within seconds of it being out." And I was like, "What's Grand Theft Auto?" And he said, "Oh, there's an even better one. There's Grand Theft Auto 2 in London." And I was just like, "Give me some of that shit, right?" And again, like Rich, I was fully unprepared for what I would witness.
I mean, Grand Theft Auto London was amazing. It's still one of my favourite Grand Theft Auto games.
Getting a tank from the military installation and listening to classical music while running people over and blowing stuff up.
Is that
man, what the hell? And it's all plan view, and
is that Jaguar with the Union Jack painted on it? That's still in my mind.
I still remember the whole process with the GTA London disc on the PlayStation. You had to put a GTA London disc in, and then it would ask you to put in the GTA 1 disc. You'd take that one disc out, put GTA 1 disc in, take that out, put GTA London back in. And it was so cool. I love it. It was almost, it was just ahead of its time. Obviously, it couldn't do what a PC did. It couldn't have a part file installed and you run the other disc. It was like, no, you have to literally hot swap it like 3 times. It's fucking great. I loved it.
and of course, as we progressed through the PlayStation life, we had Resident Evil.
That was another big moment.
Which was yet again like another defining moment of video gaming, and Metal Gear Solid with it, with Kojima and trying to create a movie-esque experience in a video game. And you look back on that PlayStation catalogue and it's just immense.
I mean, I know the purists, they'll be like, it started life on the Saturn, and it did, and you touched upon it, but I remember the Christmas I got the PlayStation, and still one of the things, the defining memories for me is the first time playing Tomb Raider. It was just...
that
the
was
hairs
stunning.
standing up my arms. I was like, this isn't a game. Like, the feeling of the little musical notes that played, like the feeling of isolation. I was like, this is not a game. This is nothing like a game I've ever played.
No, it was fully immersion.
Yeah, I'm in a world, I feel vulnerable.
Yeah, and not in that, because the music barely played unless there was some sort of emotional impact, or you discovered something, or you say you were close to getting the puzzle correct, and then they'll put that musical cue, and you think to yourself, "Oh, I'm on something," but no, the game was silent until you hear shit in the background.
When there's like an animal.
Until you hear spiders. Yeah.
Oh,
you hear spiders at the Great Wall of China, or you hear a T-Rex, randomly. Or you hear tigers and stuff like that, and you're like, Jesus Christ, or dogs in Terminator 2, Tomb Raider 2's case in Venice, are just amazing games. And again, like you, Rich, I think I played Tomb Raider on the PC first at one of my friends' houses, I believe, and then my brother got the term Tomb Raider on the PlayStation about a year after that, I think. But even then, I was completely blown away by it.
That for me, like, that was an experience, and then like just I know we're straying from the year 95, but obviously this was when I first experienced it. But like playing Wipeout 2097 on Christmas Day, I got that game, and I was just, again, this is what I miss about gaming nowadays. Like, yes, there are leaps, but they're more, I find they're more anarchy, like, ray tracing, teraflops. It's like, I miss the days when it was like a clear distinction between one gen and the next. You saw the leap. Like, and I had been playing a Mega Drive like the week before, and then suddenly Christmas Day 96, I'm playing Wipeout 2097. I've got the instrumental version of Prodigy Firestarter playing.
Nice.
I've got Red Bull logos everywhere on the screen, and it's like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I'm like, I was playing freaking Micromachines last week, and no disrespect to that, but this is like a completely different beast. This is just, I feel like, I feel like a badass playing it. I'm listening to his clubland music. I'm not even old enough to get into a nightclub. I'm having time of my life. This is the best thing ever. I've never had that feeling replicated in gaming since. I've had wow moments, but yeah, just that.
Well, you touch on the music, and this was the first time we had audio CD quality music in a video game, let alone having proper chart music.
Yeah.
Which was yet again another defining moment in gaming, and it made such a difference.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it kind of reminds you. There is ultimately the artistry in gaming music is definitely, it comes down to original pieces. I love to hear what composers make using chiptune and
sure, of course,
old school. But at the end of the day, gaming is like any other medium. It's art. Why shouldn't it have real music like a film does or a TV show? Like it should have a soundtrack, something that kind of has a connection with the audience because it's a song they love or a song they remember, and it's just it was just kind of mind blowing having previously been on like 16 meg cartridges, and now suddenly here we are.
Yeah, and I forgot where I was going to go now. Oh God, what was I going to say? Well, let's think about like the box itself, like when you got the PlayStation out, and I think it really helped with having that demo disc.
Oh, good old demo 1. Love
yes.
It. I still remember most of what was on that disc. I still remember. It's like,
go on then, go for it from your memory. Go on.
Ridge Racer Revolution. I think Pandemonium wasn't it? I think there was the T-Rex demo. There was Tekken 2 playable demo. F1, F1 95. That was. I've gone blank now. Shit.
Well, you've done pretty well. So
I know something else. Oh, Ballerina to Shendon as well.
Oh, there you go.
That poor man's Tekken, but I still liked it. So.
But that was quite an ingenious marketing thing to do, really, wasn't it? To pack that demo disc in with the, a bit like Wii Sports when we bought a Wii.
Exactly.
Everybody had this demo disc, and they had something that they could put into the console as soon as they got home, even if they couldn't afford a new game to go with it.
Indeed.
But I think just one other thing I want to touch upon with the PlayStation is like with all the defining things that this console brought, I think where the Mega CD had kind of touched upon it as well with things like Night Trap and other games that tried to bring in, full motion video. It was the PlayStation that really nailed that down to include those into a game. Mm-hmm. And we take it for granted these days with the games that we get to play now. But in 1995, this was jaw-dropping, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I still remember that Christmas watching the opening FMV for Tekken 2 on the demo disc. I was like, whoa, this is so cool. Like, just, again, like with the music, it was like, you wouldn't get that on a cartridge. Like, it was just, you knew it wasn't representative of the game, but it was like you're watching, this was the year of Pixar, wasn't it? So you were watching this animation that was just like, it was beyond anything you'd seen even in an animated film at this point, and suddenly it's whacked on a disc for a game you're about to play. It's just, so cool.
And I think this was, where Nintendo decided to carry on with cartridges with the N64, and obviously Sony just kicking the crap out of the market. It was easy to see why they lost their, the Final Fantasy franchises, and a couple of the other big franchises that Nintendo used to have, like, just on their Super Nintendo. And it must have been quite disheartening for Nintendo to see this happening. But the Resident Evil 2 on the N64 kind of showed that the N64 could manage it.
That was an achievement, that was.
Wasn't it? But obviously that was a lot longer down the lifespan of the N64. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, it was possible to do, but, I mean, it must have been a lot cheaper and a lot easier to do with the PlayStation.
Oh, yeah. The cost of discs versus cartridges is, like, just laughably less. Yeah.
A quick look at the launch games for the PlayStation. Can you remember them all, guys? Or
not off the top of my head.
I imagine the original Ridge Racer, Wipeout, Crash Bandicoot, maybe?
Not for the European launch.
No.
I love Crash Bandicoot. Battery into Shendon? Probably.
Correct.
F1?
No.
Damn. I'm just reeling off all the games that are on Demo 1.
There were 7 games for the European launch.
No Dreamcast, is it?
You've mentioned Wipeout, Ridge Racer, Battle Arena, and NHL Face Off.
Okay.
Cleek, The Blood.
No.
Rapid Reload. And Street Fighter the movie.
Oh, God. Oh god, Street Fighter the movie, the game. That's something.
Got a few memories of that one?
I just remember seeing screenshots of it, little digitized person playing Jean-Claude Van Damme. I was just like, this is so bad. Why are we doing this? Just play Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Just Street Fighter in more combat clothes, that's all it is, and that's a bad idea. So, wow, that's a really quite bad release, really. I mean, yeah, Ridge Racer, Wipeout, fantastic, but I could pass the rest.
Yep. The US launch got 12 games, which the PlayStation was released in the US on September the 9th of 1995, and the European launch was September the 29th. So it wasn't that much of a time difference.
Amazingly
between
close.
them.
Yeah, shit.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Excuse me. But for the US launch, they got Air Combat, Battle Arena, ESPN Extreme Games, Clique, NBA Jam Tournament Edition, Power Serve 3D Tennis, The Raiden Project, Rayman, Ridge Racer, Street Fighter the Movie, Total Eclipse Turbo, and Zero Divide.
The only one that ever played that whole list was Rayman.
But no Wipeout on that list.
Weird.
This is taken from fandom.com. So if their information is correct, then that's where you need to go. But
I still feel like, I think with Wipeout, I always feel like it's got more of a European flavour to that series. It plays into that more like European, like real clubland scene. You know, I never looked at it much of an American series. It never had that. Obviously, it wasn't. It was British produced, but yeah, I never thought it was something that really appealed to US gamers. So, don't know why. I think it didn't have that like real aggressive, brash feel to it. It felt a bit more kind of sophisticated and trendy.
yeah.
I don't know. Tastes are maybe changed in the US now, but back then, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, thinking back on, and I can imagine it's probably quite a tough question for you two, but thinking back on the PlayStation, I mean, is there like one particular game that was, you know, you hold the best memories for? I'm not going to say what your favourite PlayStation game is, but like, is there a game when you think back on you've got the more fond memories of?
I can't pinpoint anything. There are a few games that we did have that we did play. I mean, Only Love for the Die Hard trilogy on PlayStation.
I was literally about to say Die Hard trilogy.
Right, that shit was immense back in the late 90s. That was like, what the hell, like, and the perspective where it's a third person, where the rooms and the ceilings kind of disappeared and allowed you to see through what John was doing, was just stunning.
Yeah. That still plays really well. I played that recently. Yeah. Like the first game on that, like the Die Hard game, is like really good, and the Die Harder was like just awesome. I don't feel like Die Hard with a Vengeance has aged all that well. I think it's definitely the weakest of the three, just like in real life. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah,
enjoy playing that. Rayman was a good one. Tomorrow Never Dies. My brother had that for some reason, for someone who's not a Bond fan, but that was quite a trash game. It wasn't too bad. Crash Bandicoot.
For me, I'm probably going to say Formula 1 97. That was an amazing game. Still,
I guess so. When you think back on Formula 1 games beforehand, that this must have been another jaw-dropping moment.
To me, it still stands up as one of the best F1 games ever made. Like, it's still... I get it. It's nothing like what Codemasters is pumping out, but it's just the playability of it. And yeah, at the time, it just was like, this is like real life. It felt like real life. Which is laughable now, I know, but...
Yeah, but back then, you know, it was, you know, if they got the graphics up on the screen like you would see on the TV, and...
Murray Walker and Martin Brundle as well. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is great.
And
right
they kind of
Murray.
Respond. Yeah. Rest in peace, mate. Legend. But,
I just had a random memory. Sorry. Carry on.
Go for it.
No, go on, mate.
Sorry.
What's your random memory?
Did anyone remember a game called Abe's Odyssey?
Oh, yes. Oddworld, love it.
Just checking. Oddworld, yeah.
Oh, dude, they were like some of the they were the ones, some of the more defining games. They weren't necessarily my bag, but I remember playing them a fair bit.
Yeah, my brother got lent it by a friend, I think, that he just never gave it back to him. I don't just remember. Literally just now remembered it. Just batshit crazy. Yeah, exactly.
There's a wave and then one blows up into chunks. Just like,
Yeah.
you get sucked into like a fan or something. It's just like, oh no. Yeah, it was like, very PC-ish game that was. I think that was something that really was quite weird at the time. It
Aren't they
felt
still
like
making them up until a few years ago?
Yeah, they're still coming out. I think, didn't Microsoft bought Oddworld, didn't they?
I think so,
yeah. Yeah, they own the company, so.
They're not up to the standard that they used to be, I don't think. But...
You had like Munch's Odyssey, always other sequels and spin-offs. And, yeah, I'd say maybe then Formula 197, I've got fond memories of Crash Bandicoot, because that was the first time I played a PlayStation in a shop. And that was to me, like, again, I was the Sonic guy, and now I'm running away from and into the screen. And I'm like, quasi 3D platformer. I was like, it broke my brain. I was like, this is the coolest thing.
That game was nails as well, wasn't it?
Oh, dude, don't even. Don't even. Yeah, still. Like the hitboxes in that game and how you fall down drops. It's just now, like, I cannot get a perfect jump. I will always run into something or fall down something. It's a tough one.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I've already mentioned, I think my favourite games on the PlayStation, that when I look back and think about the PlayStation, these are the games that come to my mind, and that is Resident Evil, Metal Gear Solid, with its 2 discs, because obviously to get 2 discs, and it was like the DVD when we got DVDs, and we had to change the DVD halfway through a film because it couldn't hold enough information. Same thing with the video games of 95, and the PlayStation time was, these games got too big to be able to put on one CD, so they had to give 2 in some instances, and Metal Gear Solid was one of those games. And GTA, I think, we've already alluded to Grand Theft Auto and Grand Theft Auto 2, the London one. I should give one big fat honourable mention to, and that is, of course, Gran Turismo. I mean, again, you want a moment?
I totally forgot about that.
The opening cinematic of that with bloody remix of Manic Street Preachers.
Yeah,
I watch that. I sometimes watch FMV today, and like the way that builds up, I was like, I get goosebumps, and that game is just fucking rocks as well. It's soundtrack again, everything like with other things. It felt like it really tapped into that shift that the PlayStation kind of evoked. It was the soundtrack, all these bands that you were getting into at the time, like Feeder and Mannix, and I can't think, Garbage, proper like mid-late 90s stuff. I was like, this is sweet. Like it just came at the right time. It felt perfect. Like,
and I think like Gran Turismo was like one of those first games that you could kind of manipulate the cars. You could tune them. You could change the exhaust. You could put spoilers on them, and you could feel and notice the difference in the drive of the car after you've done the different things, and the amount of different models and makes that they included in that game as well. And
insane.
It was insane. And I think, was it the original Gran Turismo, or was it one on the PlayStation 2? You could do like 6-hour races, and
I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm sure I remember one of my old friends, and he did like a Le Mans kind of style race on there, and he spent hours just in this race in Gran Turismo, and he was fucked afterwards. But I can't remember if it was this one or not. But yeah, two amazing consoles released this year. But I've got just want to touch on something when I was researching the PlayStation. And that was probably about the piracy that Sony tried to battle with PlayStation. And Sony were aware that using CDs for game distribution could have left games vulnerable to piracy due to the growing popularity of CDR and the optical disc drives with burning compatibility. To preclude illegal copying, a proprietary process for PlayStation manufacturing was developed that, in conjunction with a augmented optical driving Tiger, it's getting very technical, so I do apologise, assembly, prevented burned copies of games from booting on an unmodified console. Specifically, all genuine PlayStation discs were printed with a small section of deliberate irregular data, which the PlayStation's optical pickup was capable of detecting. Consoles would not boot game discs without a specific wobble frequency contained in the data of the disc. Same system was also used to encode discs to regionally lock them. Quite interesting, I thought, with the piracy, because it mentioned with the, we started getting PCs, and they could have the like it said, it could be capable of burning a PlayStation game onto a CD. Did you ever go down this route? Did you ever get your PlayStation modded?
I was never one of the chipped guys. No, never. No. I was a good boy. Sorry.
I was more fascinated with the fact that the discs were gloss black.
Oh, love that.
That blew my mind as a kid, teenager. I was like, what the fuck? How is it reading it? It's black. You can't see the silver foil. You can't see the magnetic foil. What the hell? It worked. It blew my mind. I don't know why. Because you're so used to seeing CDs normally that when you see a game and it's just black, you're like, oh, okay.
But was there a reason behind it being black, or was it just a marketing thing?
No.
I used to think it was something to do with the whole piracy side, but I think actually it did turn out that it was it looked cool and they went with it. That's what I remember hearing or reading once upon a time.
Interesting.
If you hold it up to light, you can still see through it like a normal CD. So
yeah,
it was just like Rich says, like a little gimmick that slightly opaque when it looked black, but it still read the software through the plastic. So
interesting. But yeah, I mean, when I was reading that about the burning of the games and stuff, it just took me back again to this era of video gaming and the CDs. And people just having CD wallets full of burnt PlayStation games, and it's a lot easier these days, I guess, to do emulation and things, and that's probably in some ways that's a good thing for preservation of the older games. Maybe not of the brand new ones, but obviously back then, it was. How would you run a company to get a PlayStation modified? It must have been quite a challenge.
Just a bit.
Well, I think that's about it, really. Do you guys have anything else to say about the Sega Saturn or the PlayStation?
Never owned or played on a Saturn.
Yeah.
Again, this time was a really weird time. It's now for my on-off gaming relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't have many memories of the Saturn. And the only memories of a PlayStation I have is my brother or my friends, really. So
maybe you should make that a mission in the future to resolve yourself to getting a Saturn and experiencing some of the games.
I never owned a GameCube either.
They're the two consoles.
Right. Everyone always says to me, "Oh, you didn't own a GameCube." No, I didn't. And they're always like, "Oh, one of the best consoles ever." And if I had classic, if I had £10 every time someone said that to me about any console that I said I never had, it's like, well, if you can invent time travel and send our family a fuck ton of money,
yeah,
I would have had it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think me saying about to go and get a Sega Saturn and buying loads of games. I mean, it is more difficult these days to buy the games just because the prices are just getting insanely stupid, especially for some of them.
Just get a Fenrir, that's all you got to do.
Yeah. That's definitely the route to go down.
Oh,
and
undoubtedly.
It helps with disc rot as well.
Exactly.
Well, that is indeed all the time we have for this week. Thank you all so much for listening. You are all wonderful people for doing so. You can also hear me and Rich talk video games with Andrew and Steve on the Dreamcast Years podcast. And I can also be found hosting, well, not the Playlist podcast anymore, but yeah, I'm doing something else for the cross players. So go and check us out and see what that is. You can find Dreamcast Years on Twitter at Dreamcast Years and the cross players at the cross players. Easy peasy. You'll find a Linktree link in the show notes, which has all our links, including our website, Twitter handles, and more. Speaking of the website, don't forget to check out our brand new redesigned one that we announced a couple of weeks ago. It is very, very delicious. Any final words, guys, before we go?
Do not underestimate the power of PlayStation. There you go. That'll do.
Beautiful. Beat that, Chris.
Keep your vintage consoles, guys. Don't get rid of them.
Exactly.
Beautiful. Perfect.
If you get rid of them, then a scalper will buy them from you, and it's no point. Just keep them. Keep them in the loft where mine are right now.
Well, as long as they are well protected from the damp.
They still work. They're in plastic boxes and they're bubble wraps, and I think in carrier bags too. So
nice,
beautiful.
My NES, my SNES, my Mega Drive, and N64 all work perfectly to this day.
That's a good lineup of consoles.
And I've got an Xbox 360 upstairs too.
Oh, very nice.
I've got this little box room type thing that all men have in their house.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got to get them all down and get them into the cube units that I've got. So it's a major, massive task that I still haven't done. So
one day.
One day
indeed. Well, my name is Jason, and you've been listening to What's Wrong with Wolfie, a 90s podcast to the max. Catch you guys next time. Take care. Bye.
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 Hey, Janelle. What's wrong with Wolfie? I can hear him barking.